Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Today is the last day I'll be traveling, so you can stop looking at the ceiling. Moving forward, I'll be back in my office this week, but generally speaking, we're going to take a look here at Bitcoin and just kind of see what's going on. Of course, we are seeing somewhat of a divergence, but we'll also kind of look at a few other factors here. A money flow index, RSI, handful of other scenarios that kind of just give us perspective on what's going on. As I mentioned last week, if we have a red day on Monday, we're going to see some profits being taken from Bitcoin. That's essentially what's happening here. But good news is we're pretty much drawing dead and we're closing in on this support level here at 0.236 on Fibonacci at about 22,900. Or as I mentioned, a closure above 23,000 would be appropriate. So we're right there at that point, kind of testing either way. We have a lot of volume. So the increase in volume and the price coming down is a big deal. We want to pay attention to that. Okay, so we'll look at that and much more. If you're new to the channel though, just know I love teaching people to trade. Been trading for over 17 years, teaching just about as long, and I can tell you it's been a fantastic experience. So thanks again to all my community members for just making my life a better place. Congrats as well. Some nice healthy profits here, a good 24% on BNB there in about 13 hours here yesterday. So good stuff there in that regard. Trade is still open, of course, because BNB is looking very strong, but generally speaking, that is an awesome little trade there. And take a look at some awesome trades here too. Sunny kicking some tail here with a 70% VRA short. Floki long here from SAC, loving his MEXC Global. Again, I'm affiliated with MEXC as well. Make sure to check them out. They actually are awesome because they do allow leverage in the United States with no VPN. If you use the link down below, you'll be qualified for their prize pools monthly. Take a look here as well. Alexander for a Terra Classic, 281% short. My goodness. Well done, everyone. So keep up with the great work. Super proud of you guys. I love what you're doing here. And they're also using Bitget as well, too. I like that mechanical investors using their Bitget exchange. We have a competition right now, as a matter of fact, for a prize pool here. And there's a decent amount on the line. I mean, again, smaller volume equals smaller results. But hey, you got to take what you can get at this market right now. Also affiliated with ByBit as well. They got some significant deposit rewards. So, pick your poison. They're all fantastic exchanges. Links down below. So here's the thing with Bitcoin. Let's talk about big picture. Okay. So big picture on the daily, we can see that we are losing tentatively this ascending trend. Okay, now I say tentatively because again, it hasn't closed yet. That's why you wait for a candlestick closure. We can see here at this point that the candlestick is pushing back. We got a pretty significant increase here in the last 4 hours, really trying to keep above that ascending trend. So while it's tentatively broken, it's not official. Candle wicks and candlesticks are two different things. We're looking for a candlestick closure above 23,000 today, and right now we're testing 23K. So try not to lose complete faith in Bitcoin for the moment, but generally speaking, that is essentially holding tentatively for the moment. Another thing is holding tentatively as well, which is concurrent with our ascending trend, the 20-day SMA. Now the 20-day SMA is a very important indicator, at least on the daily for me, because it helps me understand if we're breaking a trend or if we're reversing a trend. So once again, as I'm going to stick with this narrative here, a closure below or above 23,000 would very well give us the indication that we're going to stay above that trend line or below that trend line, which concurrently runs with the 20. Okay, so those are things that are important to me. Another thing that is important, this is a big deal for a lot of folks. It's a unique phenomenon, you could say, in trading, which happens quite frequently. But when the 50-day SMA crosses above the 200-day simple moving average, that is a golden cross. We haven't crossed above that yet, but it's pretty indicative that's going to happen. So just generally speaking, that should be a positive, momentous indicator to the upside. Okay, so there's that, plus the trend line. We're still in decent shape here for the moment. You can see here, of course, that the money flow is increasing. Okay, so we have a lot more money coming into the market as the price comes down. Typically implies bearish, but we're not in bad shape yet because we haven't hit 50 on the RSI yet. So in all reality, we're still considered to be bullish on this trend, and we haven't broken bearish yet. So even if we were to close below 23,000 today, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a terrible thing, but that would give us some indication that the price could continue further down. But once again, as the money flow continues to increase, we get closer to 30 or 20 on the money flow index, we can see that the price is going to potentially bounce from that level. So we're still a ways away from that is what I'm getting at. So we're not officially bearish yet, even though we do have a pretty significant MACD divergence and we're still gaining momentum to the downside. Okay, so I would say for the most part, a lot of these indicators are kind of washing each other out. I like the fact that we're still above the trend at this point. So I would say a candlestick closure today at 23,000 or higher could imply further upside or at least a retest of 24,000. So take a look at the 4 hour. We want to note a few things, okay? We came down to close to 30 on the RSI. Not quite there, but we did. And that being said, that gives us that momentum to the downside, essentially helping us understand that we are potentially going to bounce off that level. We've also got a MACD converging, not officially converged yet. So again, this is not a bullish sign by any stretch, but it's absolutely positive in the sense that we are somewhat overextended to the downside, and a pullback to the upside would make sense to at least try to retest this most recent low. Okay, so again, most recent low will work as a resistance here, potentially moving forward, which is why it's important to consider, making higher highs and higher lows to break that plane. Okay, so we're ways off from that, but that's something we want to pay attention to. So to me, the 4-hour looks tentatively bullish, and I say tentative because it's, again, still a little premature, but generally speaking here at this point, we can see the price actually wanting to increase, kind of coming off that support range there of 22,900 / 23K. Okay. So it's kind of doing what it's supposed to do, and technically speaking, we haven't made lower lows yet. They're almost parallel in a lot of ways, so we're kind of working ourselves into somewhat of a wedge pattern, which could honestly break out in either direction depending on these trend lines and a handful of other factors. Again, traditional markets being down, makes sense that Bitcoin kind of came down as well, but you can see a slight rally for traditional markets because they were down by almost 1.5%. Now they're 0.8%. So essentially, we're in a good spot here, for lack of better terms. I think the 4-hour looks slightly better. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 1 hour really quick and call it a day here. So TD sequential. Oh wait, let's back up. Look at the 4-hour really quick. We came down to a 9 on TD sequential. I forgot to highlight that. That is a big deal. That does imply that further upside could continue. So it would make sense for the price to kind of come up to the range of about 23,400 or 23.3 rather, and potentially get rejected and come back down. I say potentially because we are currently making lower lows and lower highs, and we need to expect that to continue until it doesn't. Okay. So again, 4-hour, even though we are overextended to the downside, we could see a slight relief, rally up to 23,300. So if I were to short, 23.3 would be a good entry, because once again, if it doesn't break above that level, then we're likely going to see further downside. So taking a look at TD sequential here, we can see a 9 right there, and then of course, the price kind of jumps around a little bit. So again, we came overextended down here to the downside, now we're back up to a 3. So all in all, we're not in bad shape. We could see another 3 to 6 hours of continuation of the upside. And what we want to look at too here as well is the Ichimoku cloud and kind of see. And again, this is just giving us confirmation that we're still tentatively bearish. And what I was talking about earlier at 23.3, when the price comes up there, it could very well reject off of the upper and lower lead. Okay, so if you're going to take a long position, wait until the price closes at least a few hours above the upper and lower lead on the cloud, which puts us somewhere in the range of 23,200. So a closure above 23.2 would give us somewhat of a bullish indication we're going to continue higher. If we get rejected at that point and the price closes at 23,000 or lower, there's a great chance we're going to see further downside. But that being said, we can see we're losing some momentum here on the hourly, whereas the continuation up here kind of it's getting stopped out. Lagging span is still not free and clear. So in truth, while this is a nice little push, until it confirms above 23,200, we really have no leg to stand on. I don't like to get, I don't like to jump in prematurely, so to speak. Again, if you're day trading, different story. It definitely looks like it wants to run for the next couple of hours, but all in all, big picture, I would say for more so of a swing trade, you are looking at waiting for confirmation would be appropriate at this point. Okay, so again, some decent stuff here from Bitcoin. All in all, I like what I see here so far. Slightly more positive than negative, but you got to keep in mind we have momentum to the downside. There is still more volume to continue lower, and the RSI has more range before we hit 50, so we could very well see a little bit further downside, but once again, wait for the candlestick to close. I'm looking for a candlestick closure at 23,200, either above or below that level, so that way we can confirm we're above the cloud or below it, and if we confirm below, we'll probably be establishing lower lows and lower highs, and it should continue to the downside. Okay, one last thing to note here, we're only 2 days of continuation to the downside, so there is potentially for one more week of downside if it comes to it. There's definitely a chance of that. Just keep that in mind based on what we've seen here so far, but for the moment, until we confirm below that trend line or the 20-day SMA on the daily, I think we're still tentatively on the bullish side of things, or more so just inclined to increase versus decrease. Okay, don't mistake the word bullish or bearish. Trust me, it doesn't mean you just go long and hold on forever. All right, hopefully that made sense, and I thank you so much for joining me here. We'll look forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's video. I'll be back home in my office, good to go. Thanks again for your patience. Look forward to seeing the next one. Take care.